Welcome to SciTech Culture with Steve Kern and Ben Warner, where we examine science, technology and culture in the 21st century. Visit our website at scitechculture.com. So here we are, 36 years after the original Predator film, and we finally got a good entry into the franchise with the new film Prey that I believe is on Hulu in America, but everywhere else is Disney Plus, where I happen to catch it. And I'm loving this new sort of dynamic now that, you know, I can just turn on the TV, a new film pops up and I can watch it. It happens to be one that's associated with a franchise that I've enjoyed from my youth, for lack of a better term. But I thought it was extraordinary that it took that long before they figured out how to make a standalone Predator film that was actually any good.
Well, yeah, it is funny, and the original Predator is a classic, of course, and what's happened since then with the Predator franchise is tragic, but it's such a good premise for a film that it's hard to believe they could even make bad films. I mean, I think Alien, if you think about another film that was released at roughly the same time and came with a number of sequels, they managed, by and large, to keep that at a reasonable sort of level of respectability as a story and an action film. Predator should be no different. So it's great to hear that they've made a decent film.
One thing I did want to, it did actually remind me of something that, the original Predator from '86 was now a cult classic, obviously, and it was successful at the time too. But the thing that I think that doesn't get pointed out as much on that film, and obviously it's great for introducing an iconic alien character that was, fresh and unique. The concept done in that way was fresh as well. But the thing I think that doesn't quite get spoken about, at least in terms of that original film, is that it kind of subverted, or had a go at subverting, the Arnie subgenre. Because if you remember growing up with Arnie in the 80s, you know, his standard corny cliche action films where he was going to take care of business and there was never any doubt that he was going to take out the bad guys in the end. And the original Predator actually started with that tone, and then it very deliberately shifts halfway through into a horror film effectively. And although I don't think you ever really think Arnie's not going to win, it does introduce a level of doubt, which I think is the strongest part of that original Predator film, actually.
Oh, I totally agree. But, everyone's favourite bit is, what's the matter? Yeah, Disney got you pushing too many pencils.
That's right. And just finally, before we move on, check out Prey. It's a great film. It sounds like it doesn't make sense because you've got, effectively a young, tribal Indian woman basically going up against this technologically superior and obviously 100 times physically superior adversary in the Predator, but they find a way to very cleverly even the odds throughout the course of the film, and it's just brilliantly done. And the actress who plays her does a spectacular job of it. I just think it was just really well done. I actually was thinking, I could have gone to see this in the cinema if they just had done that, because there's a lot of good shots in it. They make good use of the landscape. I think that's another aspect too. The landscape was a significant portion of what made Predator, the original one, significant as well.
Absolutely. And I think just hearing you talk about the plot, that's actually what happens in the original one. Arnie, the big, strong guy, is outgunned, and that hardly ever happens in most of his other films. He's the predator normally in the other ones, but this one, he's terrified until he works out a way to even it up, and that sounds fantastic. That's survival, that's suspense, and that will make great action, I'm sure. Sounds like a fantastic film. You got me excited.
Absolutely. Sign up and you'll get it straight away. There you go. Alrighty. All right. So just quickly too, news alert. There was a huge security vulnerability in iOS and macOS apparently in the last week or so. So serious that it made it onto the morning news. Everyone had to have it patched straight away. Now, obviously we've got to take these things seriously. You should update it when something like this actually comes out. And I won't go into the technicalities of what it was, but it's the usual thing of someone being able to hack into your phone or your computer and basically take it over, as these are wont to do. But this one was particularly egregious, apparently, and needed to be patched straight away. So I think broadly, it's not anything that we're ever going to get around. Like, there's not going to be a perfect OS that blocks everything, at least with the technology that we've got at the moment. Some clever, enterprising person or group of individuals are going to find holes in anything, really, and it's just another sort of example, I guess, of being aware of these things, because unlike in the past where we might have only had our computers and we didn't maybe interface with a device regularly, I think modern day life is you're interfacing with your phones in particular on a regular basis. And it's important to be aware that they could be breached at any time.
Yeah. I mean, it's so true, isn't it? And, even the once feeling, smugly superior because you had an Apple product, they're out the window as well now. So, whatever we make can be broken. And unfortunately, there are people out there who want to break things.
Absolutely. All right, just quickly on the US, and there was the story this week about Liz Cheney last week I should say now, Liz Cheney losing her primary run to retake which would have been the first step in an attempt to retake her Senate seat. House of Reps seat, I should say. I lose track of these things half the time anyway. To a pro-Trump candidate who obviously was supporting everything that he's on about. Liz Cheney obviously has gone in hard against him, and this is kind of the result. She lost here. I only sort of bring this topic up only because it's highlighting an interesting little dynamic that's emerging of perhaps is this the beginning of maybe a group of Republicans, for instance, trying to mount a counterattack against Trump's sort of hold on the party there? Is she going to be the one to lead it? Colloquially, she was called the daughter of Darth Vader, and which I thought was that's way over the top. But anyway, Democrats are kind of saying, "What, we're voting for her now?" But she's still the option for sanity compared to what Trump's putting up. I find it interesting if she maybe she lost this battle, but if she might come back around at some point and maybe with her rhetoric or whatever, she might be able to take on Trump in a presidential run or something, because she seems to be. I think the dynamic, say if you compare it to 2016, where I don't think anyone knew what to do with Trump, including the other candidates that were on stage. But he's such a known quantity in terms of how he'll do things now that maybe there's a way for them to counteract this with an alternative.
Well, maybe you'd hope so. I don't know. I just, from my armchair, and I'm no global expert, but it looks like there's two Americas and two realities at the moment, and it's just a little bit weird. I mean, even her concession speech I found strange in that she seemed quite positive, stuck it up Trump and walked off. And I thought, yeah, okay, I'd be a little bit saltier than that, but who knows? I hope for her she's got some sort of plan and it works out, but who would know anymore?
I mean, I would think that, given that she seems to have a reputation to be as hard as nails, that just getting knocked out like that when she probably knew it was coming, she was probably preparing for this for quite some time. So if there was another way to get around it and re-emerge at some later point, and plus, who knows? She might have a chance in some other forum in the next while.
I agree. I just found it quite weird that she came out, kind of quite strongly and said that she definitely would have won if she backed Trump. And I just thought, yeah, okay. It just seemed weird.
And I think that's kind of an indictment on where they're at the moment, regardless of how good, bad, indifferent, or whatever your support of or lack thereof of Trump. The fact that it's all galvanized behind him as a single individual is disturbing, because that's not how democracy is supposed to work.
Particularly as he's acting, I guess, in more and more extreme behaviours, or exhibiting more and more extreme sort of, I don't know, responses. It's just all very weird.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, our last topic today, a bit more warm and fuzzier than all of that, is just wanted to touch on dog intelligence. Actually, I guess I had dogs on my mind because I saw quite a few people walking them out on the street, and when you watch them interacting with their owners, etc., and you do see a level of communication, I guess, for lack of a better word, that is quite remarkable. Obviously, different dog breeds have different levels of intelligence or whatnot, but it's quite fascinating how they can read people and sort of take cues from people. Maybe not in the strictest sense of how two humans would do that, but they do seem to have a certain amount of skills that can really is really quite incredible, really. They've really, well, I guess, we've obviously bred them to be that way to an extent as well. But obviously there was something innate there that sort of allowed for that sort of combination to happen, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I love stories like this. I mean, it just shows how speciest we humans are. We're the most intelligent, we're the best, we're excellent at everything, and everyone else is so dumb, and, or every other animal's just dumb, except for dolphins, because, I don't know. I don't know why anyone's credited dolphins with incredible intelligence and not other animals. But, by and large, we tend to look down at other mammals around us on land, and I think generally we underrate them. Horses, cats, quite intelligent animals. Dogs, very intelligent. They communicate in different ways. They don't use language, but they certainly can read people. They can smell people. They can tell whether you're ill or not. I would have thought that's, some sort of intelligence, or we just put that down to, that's just high sensing, but they're very empathic animals. Well, dogs are. I think so are horses. Not so sure about cats, So there's definitely intelligence there in the animals, and anyone who's had a pet dog, knows that really they are your best friend in many ways, even though you wouldn't relate to them as a human friend. So I think, it's about time we reassessed what intelligence was, and rather than just looking at other animals as, not being sentient and therefore not intelligent, is probably not the right way to look at it. And the one example I think of often there is we used to think Neanderthals were dumb, ugly cavemen types. And now it turns out that actually they're probably not that different to us as Homo sapiens, and probably maybe even better looking.
Mm. There's a subject for a whole other discussion right there. The other thing too that, and I guess this might highlight it, if you want to see an example of it, is when you see things like, I don't know, like an owner passes away before the dog does, and the dog can have a fairly significant reaction to that, to the point where, like if they're brought into a shelter or a place where dogs, cats, and other pets are taken to try and rehome them and whatnot, that there can be a significant process that has to be gone through to match a dog up with an appropriate person. If that doesn't sort of indicate that intelligence, if you want to call it, maybe an emotional intelligence, that you need to make sure that the dog is comfortable, and vice versa, that there has to be a proper relationship established there. It's quite amazing that, if dogs didn't have this, for instance, then it shouldn't be an issue in terms of fixing that up. It's not like handing a budgie off from one owner to another or something like that.
Well, that's absolutely right. I think Yeah, exactly. And you probably even find to some extent that birds probably might even be more intelligent than we think. I knew a woman who was researching spiders, and she always claimed that spiders had personality. Now, we don't credit insects or arachnids with any sort of, I don't know, sentiency or higher level intelligence, but the idea that a spider could have a personality is not only creepy, but it sounds crazy. But she might have been onto something. She worked with them every day and reckoned they all had different personalities, and I was like, So, and we all know the Pulp Fiction quote about personality. So there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess just finally on that, I think it also shows that humans should respect their dogs as well. The idea, like obviously the traditional relationship is the owner and the pet, and although that's by and large true because we kind of still have that kind of dominion over them in that sense, there still should be a level of respect given the how much devotion the dogs give to us, which you would hope that most people would do that.
Well, you should, and every animal has a right to be treated probably better than we have historically. So that's.
No, well, when you have a look at how we treat each other as well, then it's not really much of a surprise, is it?
Yeah, well, that's precisely right. And if you use that as an indicator of intelligence, then humans probably wouldn't rate very highly at all.
It's probably why the aliens haven't made contact yet. Yeah.
Truly intelligent life would stay well away from this planet. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Or just take the dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Steve, we might wrap it up there. A lot that we went through there. And again, to go right back to the top of the episode, watch Prey. Great film. Whether they make more of them, I don't know. It kind of seemed like a standalone to me, but it's Hollywood. Anything's possible.
If it's successful, they'll make more.
Absolutely. All right. So don't forget to check out our website, SciTechCulture.com. You can get all of our links and content there. You can subscribe to our YouTube and Vimeo channels, RSS feeds, etc. Listen to us on any and all of your devices, and we greatly appreciate your listens and visits. All right. So that's it for this episode. We'll catch you next time.